are live. Welcome everybody to the WooWoo Hour podcast. I am your host, Crystal, and I am here with the very awesome astrologer, Kathy Biehl. She's great. How are you, Kathy? Thank you so much. Welcome back. I'm always excited to have. I've had you on here twice now. A couple of years ago that we spoke, and I thought we had a really great conversation. Every time I try to get you on here, Kathy, with another astrologer, their timing just doesn't work out. It's amazing. So the other astrologer, I don't know what's going on. The other astrologer that I wanted to be on here with you because I thought it would be really interesting to get both your perspectives. She didn't email me back until like yesterday, and I was like, you can still do it, but you got to do it tonight at 7, and she couldn't. So I'm like, well, you're lost. We're going to have a good time. Kathy, please introduce yourself to everybody on this live Twitch channel and let them know who you are, your experience, and tell them where they can find you. And it was at this point, ladies and gentlemen, that I realized we had a very terrible audio snafu that is momentarily resolved, but you missed a little bit about Kathy's bio. So here it is now. She calls herself a professional Aquarian. It's shorthand for her multiple self-employment tracks, which have coexisted on a bridge between intuition and the rational mind for more than 20 years. She has a very diverse life experience as an attorney, a small business owner, a performing artist, and a writer. She is now a professional astrologer. She's a psychic and a tarot advisor who helps individuals and business owners make decisions and better understand and laugh about themselves, their opinions, and the people in their lives. She's pursued astrology since junior high, read the tarot since high school, and studied formally at the Houston Institute of Astrology and in workshops with leading astrologers across the country. And now, in her own words.
But I'm also a smartass, and I use lots of pop cultural references because I have a soundtrack going in my head constantly, and I pop all kinds of music into what I'm doing. And when I do readings for people, I frequently break into song during it too. So anyway, empowermentunlimited.net. That's also the name of the Facebook page I have, Empowerment Unlimited. I have a group on Facebook called the Astro Insight Lounge, where we talk a lot about astrology in the news. I'm helping attune people to watching the astrological archetypes play out in the news. And I will warn, there's a very heavy political content to that. So there's some of it. Oh, I'm also a member of Shay Parker's Best American Psychics, which means I have been multiply tested and vetted for accuracy and integrity. And I'm in a very small group of people in that organization.
That is awesome. Chat, let me apologize that you guys didn't hear the first 10 seconds of Kathy's intro. The chat window that I use, absolutely, it was froze on me, so I'm getting there trying to click it off the screen so I can do the things. But we got the good parts. Kathy said at the intro that she is also a lawyer, and she refers to herself as the professional Aquarian because she is so multifaceted. And then you guys heard all the other good stuff, and I'll have her send me an intro so I can do a nice little voiceover for the beginning. Don't worry about it. We'll fix it. This is what happens when you go live. We'll fix it. So, Kathy, this is the second time that she has been on the podcast, and I've moved to a video format now because I think it's fun. I like that I get to chat with you guys in a live audience. I'm going to ask that everybody in chat hold your questions until towards the end. Kathy has agreed to take some questions, and we're going to get to that. When we get into the predictions for 2020, I told her that it's totally okay for her to make some predictions regarding the election. And I know that as soon as somebody says politics, everybody loses their minds. I expect everybody in the chat to be adults, no matter what side you fall under. We're just going to make some predictions. We might all have it. It's fine. Just be adults. That's all you got to do. That's all you got to do. If you think you can't be an adult, don't say nothing. Just don't say anything. But until we get to that, we're going to talk about the fun stuff, and that's the astrology. Kathy, with such a varied background, I have to ask you, you went from law to acting to writing. How did you get into astrology? How did that fit into your amazing background?
Way predated law.
Really?
Law. I've been very interested in all kinds of esoteric subjects since junior high. And when I was in high school, I actually had a sun sign astrology column in the newspaper at my high school in heavy Southern Baptist territory. I still don't understand how that happened. And in my mid-20s, after I left traditional, shall we say, law practice and went out on my own, I started going to astrology school at night.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay, so do you like it better than practicing law? I'm assuming yes, because that's what you're doing pretty much full time.
In many ways, yes, although there are actually overlaps.
Really?
In the client counseling bit, yes.
Okay. Okay. Now, I have
Mhm.
always thought of astrology like if you hire a professional astrologer, not what you get in the newspaper in the back of Cosmo magazine. No offense, people, but that's just be real about it. A very useful tool for business. Would you agree with that?
Oh, yes. And I've actually had a client on the Fortune 100 list who used me for all kinds of business planning. So, yes.
Absolutely. So, guys, astrology is a really useful tool. And on that vein, let's segue right into what you think is going on with the rest of the year. So, I know that we're in Virgo season now, and you've been talking about in your weekly forecast, which you do over on YouTube, and you have a podcast on your website as well, about how the fog is slowly lifting, and now we're slowly starting to see some answers, and we're making lists, and we're checking them twice, and we're all busy little bees. So, and I feel that's really true. And Kathy. I'm very impatient. I'm a Scorpio. I'm impatient. I'm ready to move forward. So what's going on? No, she's left. Damn it.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Now, there are two big themes at the moment, and then
Okay.
there's some other stuff that's going to happen as we get through the year. But right now, the Virgo stuff you're talking about, since the end of August, we have been in an unparalleled time of actually being able to get somewhere for the first time in a long time, and grounding and manifesting and making some things move forward, albeit in an incredibly step-by-step detailed way. And it has involved a terrific amount of cleanup. So think of what you've been throwing out lately. One reader of mine said, if everyone throws out stuff, where are we going to put it? Well, okay.
It's a fair
But we're
question.
throwing out lots of stuff, and we're organizing and getting things actually moving very, very slowly so that they can last. We're building things that have staying power, and we're also my whole screen just went black. You can still see me,
I
right?
can
Okay.
still see you. You're good.
That was just a really bizarre sensation. We're we've hit a point where we're actually building new structures, new foundations, new situations, or revised or revamped ones to take the place of the absolute chaos that we've been in since 20, 2008, 2010, really, really strongly, 2012 to 2015. Now we're building new things, revised things, new situations, whatever, to push ourselves into a new and streamlined way. So all this Virgo energy is getting us there, and it's happening in the final gasp of this fog that we've been in since the beginning of the year. The two planets that represent belief and faith have been in a really clashing relationship since January, and it has caused people to think they're crazy, not be able to trust what's real, to have utter lies coming out in the news constantly. A really beautiful example of this is using a Sharpie to rewrite a hurricane map. I'm serious.
Yeah,
That actually acts this out.
Wow.
Um, so there's been a lot of confusion, and also the ability to envision a very different way of being. And I've been encouraging people to work with this fog and consciously engage in magical thinking, because some of it is helping us to expand our concept of what's possible in our lives. Like when you take a balloon, you get this crummy little balloon, it's like this big, and you go, and you blow it up and you let the air out, and now it's this big because you've stretched it. So with this magical thinking, we're stretching our concepts of what could be in our lives, and we're setting up a different energetic signature for going out into the world. And this is going to come into play really strongly this week and next week. The reason is this particular aspect locks into the full moon of Friday, Saturday, the Pisces full moon, which could be a real, it could be Hallmark movie time. It could be walking off in the sunset. It could be deciding you're going to spend the weekend in a bottle of wine. It could be all of the above. But there's an element here of looking very, a lot of looking at what you can be. Let me rephrase this. This energy is softening the ground somewhat in the restructuring that we're doing. So it's making it easier for us to pour compassion and forgiveness and a higher vision into the new structures that we're building. And this weekend, especially with the Pisces full moon, we could take a break. We could have some really important heart to heart talks. We could look at what in our life, how does it feel, and have we been fooling ourselves about a situation? Full moons make it really easy to release. I often spell full moon FOOL, and this one is one that could be that way.
Wow.
Very
Okay.
strongly. But this is building up to the final square between Jupiter and Neptune, which happens on September 21st. And this is a particular contact we will never experience again in our lives. And that is because Neptune has such a long orbit. It's currently traveling the same part of the sky where that it visited during the Civil War. Does that explain some things?
Wow. Oh my God.
And so the
Wow.
next time that Jupiter's going to square Neptune again, but Neptune's going to be in a different sign when it happens. So we won't experience this. Bottom line, this is like your last chance to dream outrageously big. And who knows, you may call something in. It's entirely possible, especially if you get your conscious mind out of the way once you have this vision and just kind of like lock into the energy signature that you want and let that be your guide.
Wow.
Okay. So
that was I really enjoyed that overview. Jency is watching from the South Pole and says hi, Kathy, by the way. Wow.
hey, that might be the furthest away anyone has ever said hey.
Oh my goodness,
To me.
right?
Thank you.
Okay, I'm trying to you keep going because I'm wrapping my head around all of this. I know you're ready.
All right, so all of this is leading away to really big stuff next year.
Okay.
We are halfway through a 3-year process of completely resetting and, let's hope, upgrading not just the foundations in our lives, but the whole concept of where am I at home in myself, where am I at home out in the world, family structures, ancestral issues, institutional issues, what kind of authority we put out in the world. And it hits a really big point next January. Excuse me.
You're good.
So what we're doing now, this is I put seltzer water, not regular water, in my cup. That's a mistake. Anyway, I am human. See, woo. Anyway, this is a big. I mean, you can look at everything you've been going through since about April, actually even since January, as moving you forward on this.
Dragging you kicking and screaming in some instances, I would feel like, because for me, it's felt a lot like the slow down or hurry up and wait. It's felt a lot like hurry up and wait. And then
every time you do something, you find the prerequisite. Like,
yes, oh my gosh. I mean, Kathy's a gamer too, so she's totally gonna get my gaming analogy right now. It's literally trying to build something, only to find out that you don't have enough mats. So you get the foundation done, and then you're ready to build the walls, and it's like, no, I gotta go back and I gotta grind some more before I can build the walls. That's literally what it feels like we're doing. So it feels like it's all been for a purpose, but just a very frustrating one. And I really resonate with what you say with the fog as well, because it's only been recently, just when I'm thinking about my business, that steps that I needed to be taken have become clear. And I was just like, where was that 3 months ago? Like 3 months ago, I was doing something. I was still working, but now I'm just like, well, where did this? It was just like, oh.
Well, you were probably instinctively heading in the direction that you wanted, but it's almost like you had a homing device or something. Like your gut, your intuition was saying, do this. And sometimes it's just, I don't know where I'm going. I don't know what's going on. So I put my nose I'm going to look right in front of my feet. We're going to move. Do, 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 do.
Accurate. That is very, very accurate. So what would you, now I know that Pisces full moon is hilarious to me, and the way you described it as well, because I know Pisces like all touchy feelies, emotions. That's always great. So after that, what would you recommend would be the best steps for everybody to kind of practice, you know, from like October through December as we head up towards January? Because it feels like when we hit January, we're going to get shot out of a rocket.
We actually might be shot out before then. So, all right. This is the time to just continue dreaming like a maniac. And a lot of things are going to be coming into clarity, especially the further we get away from September 21st. So,
why September 21st?
That's when Jupiter and Neptune make their final boom, and then they're very slowly going to move apart. So the end of the month brings the Libra new moon at the end of the month is going to make it. It's going to encourage negotiating, mediating, coming up with agreements of how you want to get forward. Because we're not doing that. We've been working alone, but starting after this weekend, the buddy system starts to kick in, and maybe somebody really close and important to you. We're not supposed to just be loners. We're supposed to be in little pairs, like we're going on the ark or something. I mean, there's a community aspect as well, but each of us, you know, we have a counterpart, even if it's not a love relationship, but this will be working with other people and figuring out how we're getting along. And getting clearer and clearer and clearer about, yes, this is what we're doing. This is what we're doing. November, there is a Mercury retrograde in Scorpio from Halloween until I think the 19th of November.
Happy birthday to me.
Now, I have an article at Times about Mercury retrograde every year. And this is the sort of thing now, you know, because of the web, people are just attuned to this and they act like, Mercury. You see all these memes across social media and all, and people act historically like the sky is falling.
Yes.
All right. It's an optical illusion. All right. But it's one that has verifiable impact on the planet. And I don't know if it's because we all buy into it, or I'm not going to get into the why, just that, yes, it is a real thing. During a Mercury retrograde, it's very easy for communication systems and transportation systems to not work by their ordinary rules. True. And you can be having a conversation with someone and using the exact same words, but your interior dictionaries may have different definitions. And you may think you've made an agreement, and each of you has a completely different set of assumptions about what's going on. Right. So a Mercury retrograde and Mercury retrograde in Scorpio is going to be about secrets, really deep things, big money, primal survival stuff, maybe sex, who knows? So the good aspect about a Mercury retrograde is that it's an excellent opportunity to research, to go back over things and to find out more. And Scorpio is innately attuned to going deep. I say that it gives you X-ray vision or periscope vision. You can go around in the corners and see what's happening in the closets and underneath things. So it's a very, very good time for going back over particularly old financial details. People tend to come back from the past during this. You might be having dreams of people who've actually even crossed. There might be people that you know, used to be incredibly important to you that pop back up, old business deals, whatever, all those sorts of things. It's not a great time to like go out and buy something that costs a whole lot of money, because there could be something fundamentally wrong, either that's being withheld from you or that there's just confusion. My favorite story about this is, many years ago, I had someone asked me to be a writing partner with him, and we applied for a book through a nonprofit organization, and he was stunned. We got the contract, and we had no choice. We had to sign it under a retrograde. Oof. And he and the editorial committee never agreed on what the book was about. Because as soon as we got there, they said, we picked you because of your credentials. And they threw out the outline, and they never agreed. And 2 Mercury retrograde cycles later, we were fired. And I was phoning people saying, born under a retrograde, die under a retrograde. But the salient point behind this is never agreed on what the book was about.
Right. Yeah.
So just mark in your head, okay, old stuff coming back up. First 3 weeks in November, and there may be a lot of ghosts walking around, and you may hear from old friends, some of whom have died.
Okay.
All right.
I have read your Mercury retrograde guides, and I have learned to I've just learned to kind of roll with it. I try not to travel anymore. I do a lot of research and stuff under those. I'm like always I try not to take any clients anymore under a Mercury retrograde, either new clients. I had a horror story once where I did that, where it was almost like your story, where clear as day, like he stood in my hallway, actually in my house, and we outlined very clearly what the job was going to be and all that kind of good stuff. And then not 3 days later, out of nowhere, it was like we never had that conversation. And I was just like, never again. That's it. I tried it. That's 3. Nope, not doing that anymore. I'm just not gonna do it.
Well,
I'm just not.
I understand that. For other people, you might want to consider life does go on. And one thing that is, one thing you can do with this is, if you find that you have to agree to something or something has to happen, there's often an ability to renegotiate or back out of it or change it later.
Yeah.
So, some people, there's this, it may be an urban myth, it may be real, that goes around the New York astrology community, claiming that Yoko Ono deliberately signs contracts under Mercury retrograde so she could get out of them if she doesn't like them. Maybe she does, maybe she doesn't, but that's an example.
That's interesting. That's an interesting one. All right. Keep going, Kathy. Take us in.
All right. So then things start getting real in December. The planet Jupiter, which expands, gives us optimism. It's how we're buoyant. And often it's like, sometimes it brings good fortune. It definitely expands. Anytime it moves into a different part of your chart or into a different sign, and expands whatever that sign is about. It has a 12-year cycle. At the beginning of December, it is going to move out of its home base of Sagittarius and into Capricorn. It's been in Sagittarius since, I think it went in November of last year. Jupiter in Sagittarius is very focused on life philosophy, life philosophy, politics, theory, teaching, sending messages over a broad range, like global. It can be highly adventuresome, very outdoors oriented, but Jupiter in Sagittarius is Patrick Swayze in Roadhouse, My Way or the Highway. And it can be very self-righteous and intellectually superior. Like, I have the answer and you're an idiot for disagreeing with me. You might have seen some of this. Anyway, so it's going to move. It can also be just really, feeling like there's always, we're all Annie in Annie singing Tomorrow. You can be very, very optimistic and buoyant with this as well. Jupiter moving into Capricorn is bringing that into this area that has been worked over astrologically since 2008 by Pluto, the cosmic agent of unavoidable change, making his way through that. And Capricorn is the status quo. It's our institutions. It's the ground beneath our feet, the earth even. And so Jupiter, and its financial institutions as well, and government institutions. So Jupiter moving into Capricorn is going to put the focus on what are we doing? Like, where on our infrastructure and our personal foundations and structures, and this will become important in 2020. And then on Christmas Eve / Christmas Day, we have a solar eclipse in the sign of Capricorn.
Wow.
Now, solar eclipses are supercharged new moons. I have multiple metaphors for them. Eclipse means the absolute darkness. Something always leaves, whether it's a lunar or a solar eclipse. Okay, something always leaves.
Okay.
A solar eclipse is like installing new software, or especially a new operating system on your computer. You put the software in, and then everything, it goes dark, and then it boots back up with the upgrade in place, or the what's supposed to be an upgrade. So there's that element of it. Okay. So this is the beginning of, now we're going forward. Now, if it were in any other sign, I would say this is also a power up, because my other metaphor, it's very old. It's from the Nintendo Mario Kart, when you're tootling along and you hit the power up and zoom, suddenly you're just going like crazy. But Capricorn doesn't move quickly, and Earth energy doesn't move quickly. But there will be something started, initiated, a very strong feeling of, we're in a new world.
I'm ready.
Around
Bring
Christmas.
it on.
Now, an eclipse isn't a one-day event. It plays out over months, and we'll be feeling it as we move into it, and Jupiter is going to be attuning us to that. So that's playing out the year. Anything you want to talk about what's left in 2019?
Ooh, buddy. That's
where
fun.
I go on.
I know. That's all. I thought it was very, very interesting how you mentioned earlier about how this energy hasn't repeated since the Civil War. Because just when I take a step back and you just look at what just America is going through and the conversations we're having, it's interesting to me, and it's almost depressing, because I hate the idea that circles repeat like this. It's almost like, at some point, are we just going to get the lesson so we stop circling back to this? I mean, I don't know. What does the astrology tell us, Kathy?
Well, we have okay, there are 3 cycles happening now that have very different lengths, and they're all intersecting at the same time over the same period of time. One of them we last visited in the late 30s and early 40s. Ooh, okay. And that is Uranus in the sign of Taurus. All right, so that brought WPA, all kinds of government expansion to deal with the economy. And the U.S. getting into World War II and moving out of isolationism, which actually we did when we went into World War I, and the Holocaust. So, okay, that's there. And I have a guide about this, what gives a whole bunch of historical parallels in what it's doing in our own lives in the shop at my site. It's called Uranus in Taurus. Anyway, the second one is Neptune, being where it was during the Civil War, and also at the time that the Republican Party was founded. And then the third one being what Pluto is up to. There's a concept of a return, when a planet comes back to where it was at the time of an event or a birth. And you will be hearing a lot about the Pluto return. Pluto's in it's in the on-ramp to the U.S. Pluto return. The last time Pluto was crawling around where it is now was during the time of Boston Tea Party, the American Revolution, and the French Revolution. Wow. So look at what's happened in Britain with this whole kerfuffle over Brexit as the coming around again of the U.S. breaking off from Britain in the 1700s. And now the U.S. is figuring out who it is as a country and what it is as a country. So the ground rules are up for complete renegotiation, or there's a large contingent that is no longer even acknowledging that the ground rules are there. So we have these three big cycles like they're all looping around. They happen to loop across the same number of years simultaneously.
Right.
That's where we are. That's why things are so relentlessly shape shifting, I guess is the.
That is a good term. And I can almost see that playing out on an individual level as well, especially when you said identity. Because I had another astrologer I listened to as well that talks about this a lot, especially the last couple of months, is that we are sinking into our identities and who we want to be and figuring that all out and trying to just live it. It's like this, kind of drawing that line in the sand that this is it. This is what I want to do with my life. This is the person that I'm going to be. And these are the people that I want around me. And we're kind of like, and that's it. And those are the lines that we're drawing. And that's kind of the shape that we're taking on an individual
level. And that's an outgrowth of the last 2.5, 3 years of eclipses in the signs of Leo and Aquarius. Which really attuned us to the value of our own spark and noticing how people interact with it and not wasting time on the people that don't get us or that ignore us or that, have a water pistol and want to put us out. And now there's a narrowing of focus and commitment to this is my group, this is my tribe, this is what I'm going to do, these are my priorities, and not being concerned with all kinds of things we used to be before. So yes, that fits. And, looking at things in terms of life's too short, what's important to me, that's what I'm going to put into whatever I'm doing.
I like that because it combines, I didn't mean to cut you off, but it combines really well with what you were saying earlier about how we're supposed to be dreaming big now. So we're having this, we're going through this, it's not even a crisis of self-identity. It's almost like an awakening to self-identity, I would call it. And you combine that with, okay, dream big because you never know what might happen. And we're setting these foundations anyway. So it all fits. It's very interesting. Just very, very interesting.
Well, and here's a goofy phrase people can remember. One of my prior lives was as a food writer, and I was at a convention where an editor said, "Life's too short to eat sheet cake."
As a cake lover, I agree with this. I do.
Yeah. Whatever your personal, whatever your parallel to that is, it's like, why settle? If you're gonna do it wholeheartedly and have something that you really, really, really want.
Absolutely. All right, so we're gonna navigate through this fog. We're gonna start to get some clarity. We're gonna begin to take baby steps forward. We're gonna have a Mercury retrograde that's gonna allow us to stop, pause, review everything one last time. We're gonna get a nice energy boost with the solar eclipse, and also a chance to get rid of that final load of crap and step into everything. And then January hits, and I'm ready. Take it away, Kathy.
Okay, January is one of the huge months of the year next year. January 11 has two major events, and one of them is the focusing and containment of what we're doing about coming out of the chaos. Saturn, which is the lord of, there's a conjunction between Saturn and Pluto. Okay, Saturn's the lord of order, rules, karma. I call him the planet of adulting. And he imposes consequences, but he also rewards when you act maturely and responsibly. And Pluto, the agent of unavoidable change. He is the lord of death and rebirth. He's the keeper of things that are buried deep or hidden. And the two of them are coming together on January 11th in an exact conjunction. It's been building all this year. They've been traveling with each other, essentially, and they finally fuse. Now, Saturn and Pluto meet every now and again. I think 1982 was the last time they did. It was in a different sign at that point. Really big stuff happens whenever Saturn and Pluto make exact aspects. 9/11 happened when they were opposing each other. Who knows where this is going to go, but the positive way of looking at it as you'll think we're all going to commit to, okay, this is my platform, this is my structure, this is my foundation. I am narrowing my focus. I'm putting containment on All of this stuff I've been clearing out and rebuilding, and bam, I am committing to X. At the same time, Uranus, the agent of unpredictable change, stations direct. So he's currently retrograde. Outer planet retrogrades happen every year. This is just giving us the opportunity to figure some things out on the inside. So we'll have massive epiphanies, and they'll probably have to do with values and money, and maybe with love and relationships, because Uranus is in Taurus, which is ruled by Venus. So there's like this moment of, aha, here's what's happening. Here's what I'm doing. I am committing to X. Here is my structure. I am building it. And we spend the rest of the year very slowly working this out. Jupiter, remember I mentioned him at the beginning of December, moving into Capricorn. Jupiter will very slowly come up behind and shore up and expand and strengthen whatever Saturn and Pluto put in place. And he will go across that area and then backtrack across it and then go across it again. And it will not be till late in the fall, almost winter, before he clears that. So we have, talk about slow building. It's an entire year. It's like it takes that long for the mortar to dry of whatever we put in. So there's your long picture for all of 2020.
So what I'm hearing is I'm going to have to be patient again. That's what I hear. More patience. Okay, I got it. All right. Okay.
Well, and that whatever you're building has a shelf life.
Interesting. Go a little bit deeper into that.
Huh?
Go a little bit deeper to that when you say that whatever is it you're building has a shelf life. What do you mean?
Well, I mean, it has durability. It's there for the long haul. It's not like, okay, now I'm going to go off and do something else. No.
Got it.
We are building our new reality.
Okay.
This includes, and I don't want to get off onto this, I'm just going to put it right here and everyone can think about it. Our government, okay? Our government.
Okay.
What we think of as our government. So clearly a lot of stuff has been in flux. Something's going to start taking shape and very slowly evolve over the course of the year. Now, a couple of big things happening next year that I want to mention.
Really quick. I love this because it sounds, especially because you mentioned the government as well. So it sounds like as a whole, like as a country and individually, we are taking this year to get really firm about what it is we want. I listen to Ann Ortley a lot, and she's always saying, what's the dream? And so that's what it is. What's the dream? What is it that you want? So next year, we're going to start building that dream. And so right now as a country, we're deciding, who do we want to be? What is this, what is America? And I feel like it's like a conversation that's almost like we've never had before. Like, what do we want America to look like? And what I'm hearing for you is next year, we're going to make a decision. We're going to decide what this country is. We're going to implement.
I think we're in the process of making the decision, and then we're going to implement. Couple of big things I also want to mention about next year, though.
Absolutely,
next year has a Venus retrograde. She's not always there's not a Venus retrograde every year.
Okay.
Venus is the planet that rules what we desire, what we like, what we want. Venus is the goddess of love. She's the creativity, sensuality. She's also really savvy with finances. So she rules money, beauty, creativity, our aesthetic sense. When Venus goes retrograde, a lot of people from the past tend to show up. We are often given opportunities to remind ourselves of the relationship dynamics we used to have or people we used to be involved with. But it doesn't mean we have to go back to the dance with them anymore. A Venus retrograde.
Kathy, I'm going to pause you. Your video just got really weird, which is hilarious because it's kind of like you're doing a music video type remix. But I'm going to give it a second before you continue. All right, it's all better on your end. Go ahead.
And I am plugged by cable into the modem. I don't know why this happens.
If we
Anyway,
could have a conversation about ISPs in this country one day, that'd be great. But continue.
so Venus retrograde, optimally, don't get engaged, don't get married. This
Not
is
during a
not the
Venus
time
retrograde.
to launch something new in anything involving Venus. A big money purchase likely will not have the value that you think it will. Now, years ago, a friend of mine, second marriage, seemed like it was made in heaven. She was highly educated. They did all kinds of amazing things together. I was one of the few people at the actual wedding. It was an astonishing wedding. It was on a Venus retrograde.
They married on the Venus retrograde.
Right.
Ooh.
So, and I thought, well, okay, maybe we're going to see the exception to the rule. No, turned into one of the 3 nastiest divorces I have ever witnessed. She basically used him as a sperm donor and then started going out on dates with people. He figured out that she was dating, and it got phenomenally nasty, and he engaged in some really unpleasant conduct himself. So
wow.
I hold fast to this, and let me give you the dates.
Everybody write this down. Behave yourself during that Venus retrograde.
May 13th to June 25th. Now think about that. June is the big, let's all get married time.
So when you say Venus and issues around Venus, I know that has to do with love. I know that has to do with money. What else?
Creativity, aesthetics.
Okay.
And what you value, what you like, what you desire. And she's going to be retrograde in the sign of Gemini. And Venus in Gemini likes options. She likes friends. She likes to flit here and there, multiple people. So who knows who will show up from the past during that. Lots of pals, lots of friends.
So everybody's going to have an affair during while Venus is in retrograde. Nice. Okay, cool.
Maybe yes, maybe no.
Yeah.
Okay, so there are 2 other big things I want to mention. The second one is we have a second eclipse cycle starting next year that's going to happen along with the ones that we're in. This in 2019, all of the eclipses were in the sign of Cancer and Capricorn. Next year, eclipses start in the signs of Gemini and Sagittarius at the same time. We're not through with the Cancer Capricorn eclipses, and this is common. There are often eclipses in 2 sets of signs, and Gemini and Sagittarius have a lot to do with our information flow, our data streams, how we get our information and what we do with it. So it will involve technology, it'll involve the internet, it'll involve global things, it'll involve the whole issue of news. I am certain that will be a feature of it. And those start in the summer.
Okay.
The other big thing I want to mention is that we are in for what I call retrorama. And that is massive numbers of simultaneous retrogrades starting next summer. In mid-June, from mid-June next year, Mercury, Venus, Jupiter, Saturn, Pluto. So 5 planets are going to be retrograde at the same time. This causes an atmosphere of introspection and going within, and a lot of stuff happening deep and not knowing quite, that on the surface playing out is like, wait and see. And then in mid-August, in July, then we only have, by July, Venus is direct again, and Neptune is gone retrograde. So in July, it's Mercury, Jupiter, Saturn, Neptune, Pluto, and then in mid-August, all of the outer planets are retrograde, which is what happened 2 summers ago. So Jupiter through Pluto are all retrograde from the middle of August until the middle of September, and then they slowly start turning around. So end of the summer will be a massive, let's go back and let's rethink and let's learn a lot and research and picking up loose threads time. Remember, we're still moving forward on this new structure that we're putting down.
Right.
And then Mars Then Mars, the planet that rules our action, I call him the cosmic first responder. Mars is retrograde from September 9 through November 13. So pretty long time, basically 2 months. And he's retrograde in his home base of Aries. So Mars in Aries is fighter energy, it's warrior energy, it's boldness, it's, oh, look at what I just did. Oops, didn't think about it energy. Mars in Aries is Captain Kirk from Star Trek. It's Steven Seagal. It's, I'm just going to go, I'll beat things up and then I'll think about it. It's jumping and then, maybe I should have thought this through kind of energy. So Mars in Aries means a number of things. There could be a lot of frustration. There could be a lot of inner anger. There could be a feeling of powerlessness. There could be a lot of internalizing. And there could be a lot of, well, we've been seeing some evidence of the masculine archetype not dealing entirely well with energies and changes, and there could be a lot of that going on at that point.
Okay. It's very interesting as well to have this summer of so many retrogrades, so it's just like we're doing so much internal thinking, reviewing all this kind of stuff, and then it's almost like it's I don't know, a common sense path almost to be thinking, and then you know what, Mars comes in and just, I don't want to think anymore. I just want to do something about it now. And maybe you maybe you should have taken 5 more minutes to think about it before you did the thing. So that's good. So watch for impulsiveness. Okay, I can see that. All right.
Yeah, and also, I mean, all the outer planets have been retrograde this summer. Only 4 of them were retrograde at once, and then once Jupiter went direct, then Uranus went retrograde. So it wasn't quite as localized, but this is energy we lived through, and 2 summers ago we lived through it with a vengeance, like everybody and his dog. There was a great image that was flying around social media. It was an image from the Kingsman of all these what somebody was doing. It was in the image, it's in the scene where the Kingsman just goes crazy and starts killing all these people in a church.
Oh yeah.
And so each one was labeled as a different planet, basically.
Nah, I love the internet. Internet and its memes. Oh my gosh. All right. Cool. So then
one last thing, at the end of the year, then Saturn and Jupiter both shift signs. They both clear out of Capricorn. It's like, okay, done. The platform is here. Now, who's our tribe? What are we going to do about it?
Interesting.
They're going to move into Aquarius.
Ooh, it's the age of Aquarius. Okay. That's going to be fun.
My territory. So anyway.
Kathy's like, I'm ready. All right.
So.
Yeah, that's fun. That's going to be, I'm thinking about this too, because my brain's kind of exploding right now, because I'm thinking about this on an individual level, and also like what we're going to be going through like as a nation. So this is going to be really, really interesting to watch. So you know what, Kathy, let's just get into it now. Talk a little bit about, how do you think this is going to go for America?
Well, I think that the last couple of years have awakened a lot of people. I've certainly been hearing statements out of people I never thought would pay any attention to politics, who have said words to the effect of, I abdicated responsibility. I handed over responsibility to my government, and look at what has happened. So people are much more engaged. They're much more aware of things that are going on, and they're learning an awful lot about things that are going on. And there's a terrific amount of pervasive corruption and cross-border things and whatever. So we're seeing our illusion of who we are and what we mean. And I think that the last few years have pretty much taken the responsibility off of our country for holding the rest of the world up, because
that's going now.
Anyway. So that's like a more, okay, so we're not going to be the savior to the world. We're not going to bear responsibility for every other thing happening. There will be a refocusing and So I won't get into the aspects that say this, but I've also been working with a group of people trying to figure this out, and it's looking very strongly like the next election turns a lot of things back closer to the way they had been.
Okay.
And there's a kind of a shocking element about some of it. There could be a lot of confusion about results. Gee, we've not experienced that ever before.
Wow.
And I will. Mitch McConnell has a contender for his seat who can match him very, very strongly astrologically. And his transit's coming up. I would not want to be him in terms of answering for things he has done. There's an awful lot of answering for things you have done, aka Saturn in the picture for a whole bunch of people in the news. And I think it's highly probable. The aspects indicate that the Republicans will lose the White House and the Senate.
Interesting.
And that there will be a woman on the ticket, and if she is not the president at the next election within a year to a year and a half after the administration starts, she will be. And I don't know who. I'm not going to make any. I mean, there are a couple people it could be. I'm not going to make any predictions as to identity just yet.
Okay, interesting. That's going to be an interesting one. So let me ask you, because you talked a little bit. I mean, we're talking about how Mars is going to go into the picture, and a little bit about how men have had a harder time kind of adapting to these changes, and like you said, the Saturn, and just being held responsible for just stuff that's been going on. So is and thinking about what you just said, is that a little bit of that Mars energy too, that last temper tantrum about to going to come out around that time as well, that kind of
I'm not saying it would be last, but I think they won't deal well with it, and there are many indications of women getting much more politically involved. And if you will notice, without attaching personalities to this, there is a vision that is, or an approach that is common to the newer members of the House of Representatives. It takes in a collective vision, like look at how this affects lots of people, which is a more feminine way of going about things, or a goddess way, or however you want to put it.
Right.
And there's more and more and more of that coming, a kind of that we're in this all together. How do we all work this out? We're seeing the death grip of a view of reality and a power structure that knows it's about to be demographically drowned. And that's part of why voter suppression and tinkering with the census has been such a priority. So anyway, I won't,
Yeah. So it's interesting. So,
that.
But we've seen that too as well, because I thought it's just, I mean, there's definitely been more of a sense of cooperation. And and a lot of people have been bemoaning kind of the death of being politically correct, but I've always just saw it as kind of like the birth of a collective empathy, and just and literally, like you said, like just understanding the effect of words and their power and that sort of thing. So it's interesting to watch that play out on an astrological level as well, especially with the upcoming things and how that's all going to play out. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
And as far as politics, from here the rest of the year, someone's already serving a life sentence, if you look at it that way.
Right. So,
I mean, from December 2016, Saturn sat on Trump's south node, and at that moment I got an image of a live butterfly pinned to a specimen table, and he's essentially in house arrest. I mean, that's another way of looking at it.
Wow.
And I think this is going to be an extremely uncomfortable fall for him, and keeping certain financial records out of the hands of people who can do something with them isn't going to last. It's not going to last any longer. Longer.
Right. We'll see how it all goes down. Yeah, it has. It has been interesting because I try to filter. I'm trying to slowly filter out a little bit of the politics of my feed because you know how people are on the internet. They just lose their minds. But even just conversations that I never thought people would start having about, do we even need the Electoral College anymore? And I'm just like, oh my God, we're actually talking about this? Like, people are actually having serious conversations about it. It's just interesting to watch how the climate is shifting and changing. Because it's almost like we needed this type of reality check to be able to even step into the conversation of identity. Because if you're skipping along, like you said, your friends thinking everything is fine and I have this trust in government, and then you realize things are not fine, that it really all has been an illusion no matter who sat there. It was just an illusion. Like, it didn't matter. It was fake. Like, this idea of America that we had, again, didn't matter who was president, was a lie. This is interesting. This is just like, I think that's a lot. I think I can understand why a lot of people are losing their minds over this a little, because we're dealing with this on a personal level and as a country too. So if you've put stock behind the person who is falling apart or shit's coming out or that kind of thing, it's going to, I can understand that could be a double whammy that you just don't want to listen to. Especially if you're one of those people that put all this faith in the system. That's, it's going to be rough.
Well, and it's more than politics. Watch what happens in organized religion.
Yes, that too.
It's the corruption in fundamentalist and evangelicals. I imagine it's pretty much everyone. I mean, it's been in the Catholic Church for a long time, coming out. But just watch the people that you've bought into. And I thought it was astonishing. Someone who's like the biggest proponent or maybe the creator of gay conversion therapy finally came out as gay in the last week. And I went, well, duh. And we're going to see.
Right. I wasn't shocked. I know a lot of people I could have called that, but okay. Yeah.
No. But that sort of thing, more and more and more and more. Like the noise is really loud. There's a reason. And what have you bought into? And so we see huge swaths of society that are being threatened, who had the illusion they could breathe easily for a few years, and if you're not a rich white male or married to one, you're kind of in a scary place these days. And so that I think is where it's all going to come. And you'll also, if you float around the astrological community enough, you will hear all kinds of talk about, well, we're headed to a civil war. I would suggest to you that we're in one already.
Interesting. Wow.
It's being fought the same way Russia fought us and bested us in the last election. It's being fought through ideas and through the media.
Yeah.
And in the streets already. So
it's
and in the hell freezing over category, major corporations asking their customers not to bring their guns into their businesses is a big step for this country.
Yeah, that's a big deal. I did not expect that. I did not expect it would be Walmart that was the first one that did it. Especially understanding who they're owned by. I could have expected some of the other ones that jumped on the bandwagon, but never in a million years did I think that it would start there. So that was really interesting. Really, really interesting to me. So, how things are shifting and people's reactions to that. It's, and then I listened to your astrology reports and a couple others, and I'm just like, okay.
Here it is.
You know what? Like, ride with the changes, guys, because they're coming. So, hey, get yourself identity straight. Get ready to plant some seeds. And if you're hanging on to something that's dying, you maybe shouldn't do that. I'm going to let it go. You can heal. It's going to be okay. It's going to be all right. Kathy, is there anything else you want to add before I ask our awesome audience if anybody has any questions?
Nah, it's a lot right there.
Yeah, right? Kathy's like, no, I love Kathy. Kathy's just so to the point. It's great. Love talking to Kathy. All right, chat. I'm opening it up to you guys. If you have anything you want to ask Kathy about what we just talked about, I know you guys are about 10 seconds behind, so I'll give you a second. Shout it out. Go for it. How you doing, Bander? How you doing, Jenny? Yeah, taboos have definitely been swiped. It's a different way to fight war. I think when people think about that, they think that we're all, I mean, it's, this is a whole new, we're learning about it. And I like how, I think there was an underestimation about how quickly people would start to pay attention. And I really think there was. And I like the idea that we actually can have some effect on these changes, because it's very easy to feel very helpless about things, and to hear that, if you make if making some noise will actually doing some things, it'll be interesting.
Also, clean up your own little corner of the world. The more you can bring sanity and balance and play and the occasional moment of joy into your part of the world, it's like it ripples out to others.
Yes, that's a real thing. People do it.
Smile at cashiers, people.
Do it.
Be nice to service people.
Yes, God, be nice to service. Be nice to service people. It's not hard. Ghostlead says, if you think that's interesting, just wait for the war on data. Already happening. My gosh, it happened this weekend. The war, like, literally. When did the NOAA put out that ridiculous? What was it? Friday? Yeah, it's already. That's war on data. That's crazy and scary. And
that's been going on for a while. The war on data, we're well in there.
Yeah. All right, people.
Scrubbing science. Yep.
I know. Any questions? Anybody want to ask anything? Let us know. Kathy is here and available for your questions. It's always fun talking to Kathy. Kathy's great. You like this? Listen to her weekly forecast, guys. You get a whole.
Also, I'm giving a talk on September 19th on just what's happening in the fall, looking at the fall equinox chart, and there's stuff on my website about that.
Awesome. Jennings wants to know if you have a comment on how so many people mouth off on social media as a symptom of now.
Well, there is something about disconnect from other people and not recognizing the impact on others, and the facelessness of it, emboldening people to do horrible stuff. And now they're starting to do it face to face. Things we would never do face to face. So I think this is a result of an influence involving an asteroid named Eris, Eris, who is the goddess of discord. And for the last couple of years, Eris and Uranus, which is a disruptor, were traveling together. And there's an astrologer named Eric Francis who has a site called Planet Waves, who has written an awful lot about Uranus and Eris basically causing this incredible disruptive communication. And social media is one of the places it happens.
I follow him too sometimes at Planet Waves. Yeah, he's another good one. Absolutely. Okay. So Kathy, you've got a talk coming up on September 19th. That's awesome. Again, tell everybody where they can find you, how they can book a session with you. I feel like everybody should have Kathy in your corner telling you when to do things and when not to do things.
My site is empowermentunlimited.net, like safety net. And Empowerment Unlimited is my page on Facebook. And I have a group, the Astro Insight Lounge, on Facebook. My YouTube channel is The Professional Aquarian. And I have a Patreon where I put all kinds of bonus content with goofy animations and like little exercises you can do. And I have a monthly Ask Me Almost Anything. People ask me almost anything. And we talk about what's going on, and I answer like basic astrology questions and that sort of thing. Fantastic. That Patreon is patreon.com/Kathy Biehl. It's Kathy with a K. My last name is B as in boy, IEHL.
I got you. It's on the thing. I'll type in chat. We're good to go. All right. No problem, Jency. Any other questions before I let Kathy go and enjoy her New York weather and get on with her life? Kathy, I want to thank you so much for your time and chatting with me again. It's always a pleasure to talk to you.
It's great. Thanks so much for having me.
Absolutely. All right, guys, if you are here for gaming and all that good stuff, stick around. We're going to do a pretty short stream after this. I might do some creative stuff. I might do some Tomb Raider. I haven't decided yet, but I'm going to see Kathy off here. If you want a copy of this, the archive will be up on my site on Tuesday. I will give you guys all the details of that a little bit later, but you guys should just know. I think there's a command for it. It'll be up there, and then I'll send it to Kathy as well. So she's got a copy. Shout out to all the mods. Shout out to all you guys for being amazing listeners. If you are listening to this in a podcast format, you have listened to the WooWoo Hour vodcast with Crystal and astrologer Kathy Biehl. You can catch us live on my Twitch channel, twitch.tv/CrystalStorm. I'm here 3 nights a week at 7 Eastern. Go to my website for the schedule and all that good stuff. Next month, we are going to have on Cameron Day. He is, I don't even know how to describe Cameron, but we're going to talk about spirituality. We're going to talk about some practical spirituality. We're going to get really deep in it. No more of this, it's going to be a little woo-woo, but it's going to be like some practical woo-woo. There's some stuff going on in the news that's really pissing me off about spirituality, so we're going to get into it. It's going to be a good time. All right, guys. Remember, figure out your identity, okay? Be happy. Do fun stuff in the world. Spread it out. And we'll see you guys next time.